Hello, welcome everyone. I'm here with Luca.
Bonjour.
So Luca will be joining me on this video where we talk about our experience of working at McDonald's. Luckily, we don't work there anymore.
Thank God.
We quit last year, both at different times. We can explain more why then. But yeah, we started working for McDonald's in 2019 when we decided to move to Wales. We got a job offer. McDonald's was only meant to be a temporary job, but we ended up staying there longer because not a lot of full-time jobs where we
Yeah.
are. It's mainly part-time, which is a bit of an issue. Um, because obviously they don't pay enough.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, did you want to start, Luca?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started at McDonald's, as Felix said in 2019, it was fine. It was all, everyone was happy, everyone enjoying their jobs. It was all good. And then just before COVID hit, we had a few managers and staff members leave, but obviously that was just a normal thing. And then then we hit COVID. But when we got back from COVID,
Well,
like,
one
yeah,
thing I would mention during the COVID time, we did apply for uni at that time
yeah,
as
yeah,
well. Um,
we
yeah,
we made the decision that we wanted to do uni, kind of like move on from just doing retail restaurant jobs, and we
yeah,
wanted to
fast
kind of
food
do,
crap.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but there were a lot of before COVID before COVID started and like before the lockdown started and ended. There was some management changing though, wasn't there?
yeah,
I'm sure there
yeah.
was
There
some
was,
changes.
because we had our store manager uh go from store manager and moved up to like an area manager, or like bit what
It's like area
new
regional
man,
manager
yeah.
thing.
And then we had one of our we had a manager go to assistant manager, and one of the assistant managers go to store manager or business manager kind of thing. But that's when things started to kind of like take a bit of a turn, um, because when they moved up, they left a load of work for the new store manager. So the old store manager left a load of work for the new store manager. So they were too busy trying to sort that out at the same time as trying to do other things. But also that has happened later down the line, which we'll also talk about as
Yeah.
well.
Well, to be honest,
But,
but even though it was all right place to work, there was still issues. It certainly wasn't a good company in the first
oh God no,
place.
God no.
Um.
It was meant to
So
be just a basic quickly get job settled, get
for
settled
for
down here,
for
and then
for us, yeah.
for us, yeah.
But the company did do bad things in that.
Oh yeah.
The pay so even when we did start, pay was shit.
Hmm.
Um, they didn't pay for, you don't get paid holiday or anything like that.
No.
What they did was so. I'll briefly mention actually saying we'll mention more in another video, but when we was working at Sainsbury's or even when I worked at Co-op, you would get a certain amount of paid holiday. So you take it, they say like I don't know how certain amount of weeks you can have it off in a year. You book it, you get paid for it.
Yeah.
With McDonald's, it didn't exactly work like that. You didn't get paid holiday properly like that. Basically, with McDonald's, every time you got paid, they took some of your money away. So even though they give you crap pay, and then they was I think it was 10% or something. I can't fully
Yeah.
remember. I would have to look at an old pay slip, but just say 10%. They would take that from the wages every time you got paid, and they would put that money aside. And then when you go on holiday, that's when they would give you some of the money back. So, so technically, they were paying us less than what they technically were advertising, because even though they said we're paying you £8 whatever or whatever it was at the time, and then they take 10% of that away,
Yeah.
and it's not like you didn't really have much of a choice if you worked there. If you worked there, you didn't get a choice. You didn't get a choice. They took the money, and you didn't really have it a choice. So you essentially was getting paid less than what you was meant to technically. They ended up changing things a bit later on, but some people decided not to take any holiday, and they would then get that money later on as a bonus. So they would work the whole year with not any holiday, which was pretty bad in a way. But yeah, we can go more into that in a bit. Is there anything you want to go on?
I know with oh, I just lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. Well,
bugger. I know the managers were a main problem with McDonald's.
Oh yeah, none of them knew how to. None of them knew properly how to be managers.
No. The thing is there was one manager who constantly complained to try and get a manager role, and like constantly moaned, stuff like this. Now, bearing in mind, this person nearly got fired, but still kept their job because they went to the store manager that previously went a higher up to an area manager, went to him and basically said, if you fire me, I will go to the pub, like the
I remember this. No, they threatened to go to the local news if they didn't. No, because they got fired. They did actually get fired.
No, they got told they were going to get fired, but then because they threatened to say that they were going to go to the newspapers saying that they were going to fire a pregnant woman and they'll have no job and no money, that meant that that could be a problem for McDonald's, so they kept her on.
Yeah.
But the thing was even though she was there, she was moody as hell.
I know who you talk about. She was not a good manager. She shouldn't have even worked there. I don't know how she got the job there in the first place.
Exactly. Now the thing is a lot of the times in McDonald's, it was a case of leave your personal stuff at home and come to work professional. That was your whole spiel. Like, if you're depressed, everything, leave that outside. You weren't allowed to.
Which is not a good. Exactly. It's not a good business or mindset to be at. For anyone that doesn't know, I do study economics, so I do have some insight on how businesses should be run. Yeah. A lot of businesses will ignore economists. They will ignore marketers. They will ignore people if they don't. If anyone, like, obviously, I'm going into my last year. At the end of this year, I'll be going into my last year of uni. But yeah, a lot of like professors in economics and that, or economics, there is an argument of how it's pronounced. It's ridiculous. But anyway, sorry, off the side.
Off the
but
topic.
Yeah, businesses. The issue with businesses is they get stuck in their old ways, and no matter how much evidence there is, they will ignore economists and that.
Yeah,
it's businesses, government. They ignore people that know what they're talking about. Which is a big issue. So it's not the managers were bad, but the training wasn't that good in the aspect of they were trying to train managers to be the wrong type of manager.
Yeah, it was a case of they were teaching them ways, but then because there was so many managers training, like just like specific people. So say for instance you had someone being a manager, that manager will be trained under like 6 to 7 managers, which all 6 to 7 managers will do things differently. And then they like, if you didn't still know how to do things, they would just tell you it's okay, you'll find your own way on how to do it. And it was like, well, no.
that is one big issue, is that the managers all did things all differently.
Yeah.
Whether some would follow procedures and a lot of them wouldn't. And it would be hard to work out what you actually had to do.
Yeah.
I yeah,
But
it was disorganized.
yeah, and I mean, like going back to the previous manager we was talking about, she used to come into work and be moody with everyone for no reason. Like there wouldn't be a reason. You would even say hi to her, and she would just be like, "Leave me the f alone," and be moody with you all day. And it would just be like, "Okay, well, what have I done
Oh,
wrong?" And then you're sat there all throughout the day, like now thinking, well, "What have I done wrong?
but
What this? What
it's
this?"
just, yeah, she was constantly moody and just, she was just horrible to everyone.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna be a manager, being horrible to people is not gonna make the not gonna make the business very well, because how is someone gonna be productive, gonna be
Mm,
productive at doing their job if they're being belittled and insulted,
mm,
harassed? They're
exactly.
not going to be. There's this is saying that I've always been told, and that was even before I studied economics. When at my first job, there was a manager that told me, a happy worker is a productive worker. And
Mm,
even studying economics, it my knowledge on economics has strengthened that quote, because it's true. If
yeah.
someone is happy, they're going to be more productive. Like, um, but that also, that same manager, um, there was one time, so we have these deep fat fryers, for anyone that doesn't know. Um, there was some fries cooking, and it was really, it needed to have more oil in there, but the fries already put down. Tick, it was okay. It would have been better if there was more oil in it. And basically, she got oil. She opened a bottle of it and just poured the lot in while the deep fat fryer was on,
Yeah.
which is, one, is it's dangerous. Pouring oil, cold oil into hot oil is quite dangerous, because if you're pouring a lot in there, the hot oil can spit upwards as well, because you're
Yeah.
chucking it in. It's the same thing if you chuck water. So yeah, anyway, um, um, but also the fact is, it also, obviously there's the dangerous part, but there's also the bit about that you've just now cooled the other oil down. You've put
Mm,
cold oil onto hot oil, so it's going to start cooling it down. And there was fries cooking in there, so it was, I'm assuming it should have broke some health and safety stuff as well, or food standards or whatever. Because it's now affected the condition of the cooking of the
mm,
food.
yeah. Um. Yeah.
Uh,
It was terrible. But the thing was as well, like she was doing it like that, but other managers was like, no, don't do that and stuff like that. And then like other managers were doing things wrong, and then she was having to go at them for doing it wrong, and she'd so their way, and then they would get into an argument, and it just like it was very negative in the workplace because she was there. Like a lot of people would just literally look at the rotor and just be like, is she gonna be in? Oh fuck, yes, she
that's
oh
that's
sugar, she is.
that's reminded me of nothing. A lot of people would phone sick if they knew she was in.
Oh yeah.
The thing
When
is,
she,
and like, but like, they must, the business manager that must have knew that.
they did. They
The
did.
thing is, right, if people phoning in sick because a certain manager or a certain person in is in, if loads of people are calling in sick because of a certain manager or whatever, then you know you have a big issue.
Yeah.
And they didn't do any, as far as I'm aware, they didn't do anything because nothing changed.
Yeah.
Um, and they should have done something. Like, if you're trying to run a business, you need your managers to be good at their job. You need,
Yeah.
you want your staff to be comfortable coming up to managers about problems or whatever. You want them to be you want a comfortable, happy, productive workplace.
Yeah.
Because if you
I
don't
mean,
have that, then it's it's not going to go well.
exactly. But you talking about times off though,
Mm.
um, like that, and people calling in sick. That brings me to the next thing that I was going to bring up
Okay,
because,
I've just remembered something. I don't know if you're going to mention it, but I've remembered something. But go, you
Okay.
go.
But basically, this wasn't just like when I was training, because I was training to become a manager as well. Um, and before I was training to become a manager, a lot of the managers themselves were going out the night before. So, say for instance, they were meant to come in at 6. They would literally go out at 11 p.m. the previous night, get like absolutely drunk, hungover and everything, and then call in the next day to be like, "Oh, hey, I'm not feeling well," and then it's like, "Well, we've now got no one to open the store. You're opening the
That's
store. We can't open the store now." So then the store, like store manager or another manager that has the set of keys, would have to come in. But then I remember one manager who I was training with. Um, she finally became a manager before me, which we'll go into detail with that. But basically, she became a manager before me. She was doing the late shift, so we closed at 11. Do like all the closing chores, cleaning, mopping, tidying up, stocking up, stuff like that for the next morning. That could take us until 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning. Now, this manager had the set of keys, and she got called at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning after she had just finished work, saying that she's gonna have to call in and come in the next morning because the manager decided to get drunk and hungover and won't be coming in.
mm.
So she literally had done a um a 7 till 4, 3 to 4 a.m. and now has to come in at 6 till 4.
Mm. Well, because that does remind that's something I was going to mention was about them about managers getting drunk.
Oh yeah.
I literally I don't know if any discipline was taken against any of them because it happened so many times and they never got fired or anything. Literally, managers could phone in sick, just pretend they're sick even though they've gone out drinking, and all the other managers knew because they were out with them. And then some would even turn up drunk to work.
Oh yeah, that brings me to my next one.
But if it was someone who weren't a manager phoning in sick because of drinking, they would get disciplined and that. Because I
Oh yeah.
remember it was I can't remember who it was, but I remember a manager ended up seeing on Snapchat of someone being out drinking the night before.
Yeah.
Someone that weren't a manager, and they got in trouble for it for phoning
Yeah.
in sick, even though it weren't the fact that they were sick, it's because they had a hangover.
Yeah.
But the managers seem to have got away with it because they happened to be managers. It was one rule for them and another
A
rule for
different
the
rule
rest
for
of
everyone. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, when I was training to become a manager, it was the worst for people training me, because a lot of the time it was um what was it? Like, I had one of the managers come in hungover at 6 a.m., right? Not feeling the best because they were out of their fate, like drunk still. And they were meant to be training me. And one thing that we do when we're like when you're like being a manager, you come in, you walk around the store, make sure there's no like spillages, no damages, no nothing. You check outside, you check inside, and then you do your own kind of like layout of where you want people. So who do you want on grill? Who do you want on the fries? Who do you want on line 1? Who do you want on line 2? Who do you want on front? Stuff like that. Well, that section of trying to put people where, I was still learning. Now, it was very difficult for me because I didn't know anything about it. And like the manager was like, come over here, I'll try and show you how to do it. I was like, okay then. He was just like, right, go through the list. Actually, no, wait. Go through this. Wait. hang on, actually, do you know what? You just do it. I'm just gonna sit here. And I was like, really?
Well, that might be
Really?
say you saying about the floor plan. I don't know why they bothered doing it anyway, because the
Exactly.
manager that next came in at 8 or 9, I can't even remember what it was now because we haven't
Hmm.
worked there for a while. But they would come in and they would ignore the floor plan. It would get ignored. It wouldn't get
Well,
followed. So it was. Well, what's the point of writing this down?
yeah,
Because like I would,
exactly.
if I was say I was doing the earlies, I did do a
Yeah.
lot of earlies. Luckily, I prefer doing earlies than lates. But anyway, um, I would see, oh, they've put me down to do this, and I'm like, okay. So after I've had my break and come back, I know I'm going to be over on that station because that's what it's on the floor plan or whatever. And then I come back, and then it turns out they've moved me somewhere else, and they've moved everyone else around, and it's like, well, what's the point of getting the manager that comes in the morning to do a floor plan if you're basically going to not follow
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Like,
The
I
thing
do
is,
understand. I do understand very quickly that
mm,
things change. People have specifics of where they want to put
yeah,
you, and also breaks and stuff. I get that, but the thing is it does get annoying because when so you get a manager from 6 to 2, then a manager will come in at 2 till 10, and then you'll have another manager that will come in 7 till close.
that yeah,
But the thing,
that's only if you only had three, and sometimes there
yeah,
was extra managers in.
there was mostly extra managers, which was more hilarious when there was more managers than staff members, which was hilarious. But basically, when the 2 o'clock person left, they're meant to diverge all their information to the 2 o'clock manager and be like, right, this is what I've got so far. This is where I've got this person, this person. It seems to be running smoothly so far, so I would suggest you keep it that way. But the 2 o'clock manager would never do that. The 2 o'clock manager would be like, actually, I don't want this person here. I want this person over there. I want this person here. And then the whole floor plan is now a mess. And because they've now changed that floor plan, it's now gotten busy and it's now hectic because everything's now been changed when it was running smoothly.
Mm.
And now we're
Well,
busy, and now we've got to sort out the hecticness plus the busyness. And
yeah.
it's,
Well,
yeah.
with the busy thing, sometimes when it was busy, they would move people around, which was a bit stupid thing to do when it was busy.
Yeah.
Um, but like, there's also times where they would leave people on a certain station for 8 hours.
Yeah.
That used to happen to me a lot. I would be on chicken, doing all the chicken and veggie stuff and whatever,
Mm.
and I would be stuck on that for 8 hours. And it's not,
Yeah.
it's not very, it's not
'Cause a lot
very
of the
nice
time
to be stuck on. Huh?
Oh no, I was just gonna say a lot of the time you wouldn't get a break either, would you?
No, I would get a break. There are sometimes that I didn't get a break, but like, well, an actual break, not a break from the thing though. But
Yeah. Yeah. No,
it
that's what.
was
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. Being stuck on one place for 8 hours. It's not
Yeah.
fun. It certainly doesn't make you want to be productive when you're literally doing the same thing for 8 hours.
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing exciting about putting chicken in a vat or
No.
chucking some veggie things in the oven for 8 hours. There's nothing fun about that. I know that from experience from working at Sainsbury's with the because at one time I was working on the till and it's like, do you have a nectar card? Do you have a nectar card? Fucking hell. Repetitive things do not help. Anyway, we'll go in more Sainsbury's another time.
But like the thing was, yeah, when I was like, I can only give my experiences of when I was training to be a manager because I used to run the front bit, so I would have to show where people would go, like stuff like that. And a lot of the time, I would come in at like 2 p.m. and no breaks have been done. I've got people who have been stuck on a station for 5 to 6 hours and stuff like this. And I remember one time I actually had a go at people because people in the crew were shouting in the kitchen and on the front, being like, I haven't had my break yet. And then I'm running shift and I'm like, I know you haven't had a break. Guess what? I haven't had a break either, and it is 9 o'clock. I go home in an hour. How long have you been here? Well, I've been here 5 hours. Exactly. I have not had no food. You haven't had no food. Guess what? I've got no staff. I've got no this. But at the same time, I sympathize with people. I was like, I will do my best to give you on break. I'm trying to diverge to managers that are meant to be training me who are too busy sitting in the office on their phone, talking to other people. I'm then having to come off the front to go all the way to the office to be like, hey, can I have some help? Because I've got no staff members and all of you are just sitting here. But then rather than them coming out and being like, where do you want me? It was a case of, right, okay, Luca, you're now going to go on a station. I'm going to step in front. It's like, no, I need you to train me.
Well, there's other things as well that I want to bring up. You mentioning like that, and the fact was there were times where the higher managers, business manager or assistant managers or whatever, would tell the other managers not to do breaks because it might get busy again. If you remember that, Luca.
Yeah, I got told when I was doing break, like I would have like one of the two managers come up to me and be like, right, where you're at, and I'm like, right, this person's on a break. When they come back, and it was like, no, I don't care about breaks. Don't worry about breaks. And it was like, well, no, I do worry about breaks. And it was like, no, don't worry about breaks. Just make sure everything's running smoothly. And I'm like,
the thing is,
it's not going to run smoothly if no one's got any breaks.
Yeah, this is the thing. And I know there's something you mentioned before about they're not starving, aren't they? Or a manager's response.
Yes. Yeah.
They aren't starving. Right, that is the stupidest response. Because your staff isn't starving, like, that is not a reason not to give them a break. By law, you do have to give them a break, depending on the certain amount of time and that. But anyway... And second of all, right, if you want your shift to run smoothly, you need to give your staff a break. You need them to have a time to relax, to freshen up, or re-energize, whatever the word is, and everything. Because if you're going to deny your staff a break or give it to them late, the longer you wait to give them a break or not give them a break, the more pissed off they're going to be. The more angry they're going to be, the more stressed they're going to be. They're going to be less productive. People's breaks should be roundabout in the middle of their shift, It should not be an hour before they finish, or it shouldn't be like they don't get one at all.
Well, the thing is you bringing up the bit about, like, they're not starving. That was actually by the area manager. Who was the previous store
business manager.
Yeah, like they moved up and I came in and I was like, hey, so I'm kind of like doing the breaks, just thought I'd give you a lowdown. This is where I'm at. These are the breaks. And it was like, no, we're not worrying about breaks because they're not starving, are they? I was like, well, yeah, they kind of are. And it was like, no, they're not, are they? They can go without breaks. And
and that's coming from a manager that can have a break whenever they want.
Yeah,
the managers, literally, some of the managers, they can have a break whenever they want. Like the assistant managers, business manager, area manager, like they don't care. They don't care about you. They never have. That's one thing I would say to you. Right, if you work at McDonald's or wherever you work, right, managers are not your friends. Especially not the higher ups. They're not your friends. They don't care. The managers, they can have breaks whenever they want. I know a lot of them, they would even have extra food as well. Yeah. Even though they weren't allowed to, they would have extra food. They could go in the office, eat, watch stuff on their phone. They could go whenever they want. And it was a dick move. And there's other things like managers would... So say they've got a girlfriend working there, they would do whatever it was their girlfriend wanted them to do. Like what's the word? It's biased, but there's another word that I'm trying to think of.
Favoritism.
It's not the word I was looking for, but similar to that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then another thing I want to bring up about managers there is they apparently they were allowed phones, but nobody else was. which is wrong. Really, we should all be treated the same. But like they would, so for example, if it's busy and they decide to help you on the line, so the line is the thing in the kitchen where the burger and the buns are put on, etc. It's where you make the burgers. So a manager will come and help on the line if it's busy. Most of the time we're low staff. But they've just been on their phone. They put their phone in the pocket. Then they've started working. They haven't washed their hands from touching the phone to then touching the food. So they've gone from touching their phone to touching your food without cleaning their hands. And if for anyone that doesn't know, your phone, mobile phones have more dirty bacteria on them than your toilet. The managers might as well have made your burger on their toilet. It would have had less bacteria on it.
Yeah.
And do you know, there's something that always annoyed me. Like, they would try and rush you. That's another thing. Rushing your staff is not good for your staff or the customers. Yeah, customers don't like to wait. But if for a customer, if you probably have had your order wrong at McDonald's. You probably have at some point, or any other fast food restaurant. The reason why your food is probably wrong and you should not take it out on the staff, take it out on the area manager and that, take it out on them because it's their fault. They rush staff. The managers rush the staff to make the stuff as quickly as possible. So because the staff is rushing, they're going to make mistakes. If you are going faster than what you can do, you will make mistakes. It's as simple as that.
Human knowledge.
Well, it's the thing is, if you're rushing, you rush people. Managers rush and make staff panic, which means more mistakes doing. Do it at your pace, because if you do it at your own pace, if managers didn't time, because this is an issue that not just McDonald's have, they time their staff and say, "Oh, you got to do it in this time. You got to do it in this time." That is not good, because it doesn't make it more productive or anything. It is very negative, and that because there'd be more mistakes. If you weigh the mistakes with the food actually getting correct and that, and it would also, the food wouldn't look as good. They're rushing it, they're folding it up, they're wrapping up the burger quickly. The bun's all squashed and teared. The ketchup's everywhere now. The whole packet is covered in ketchup. Oh, you've got gherkins in it even though you asked not to have it. Or, oh, you've got cheese in this burger and you weren't meant to because you're lactose intolerant or whatever. And that's a big issue. And there was a time that I remember that a manager came to help me on the line, and they thought that I weren't quick at a certain point of the line, so they moved me somewhere else, and then they started doing the bit I was, and they were fucking slower than me. They were slower than me. We was getting less orders done with us two than if I was doing it on my own. Before they came to help, in quotation marks, I was getting more orders done on my own until they interfered. They thought they were going to help, but them interfering slowed us down because they kept fucking up things so much. They kept on fucking things up, and on the line it's meant to be like, how can I do it? How can I suggest to do it? So, for example, the person at one end will have the toast the buns. You pass the buns to the next person. They're meant to put like the sauce or the onions and that on. Then they pass it to the next person to the meat on, etc. But you're not meant to leave that part of the line. So if you've got someone on the line, like a manager that doesn't fully know what they're doing or whatever, you're not allowed to do anything. So then you're standing there, because when they was apparently coming over to help me, I got stuff ready. I got all these stuff ready, and I couldn't do anything because I was waiting for them to catch up.
Yeah.
And then there's like more orders coming through. But there were so many orders it couldn't fit on the screen. For anyone that knows that works at McDonald's would know that often happens. Managers don't help. They make terrible decisions. There were some alright managers at McDonald's, but the way some of the things were done were the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
And just working there, you would see the issues there. Obviously, the higher-ups don't care. they don't want to hear about any of the issues, because in their mind, the old-fashioned way of running a business is the best way, even though it's not.
Yeah.
Being an arsehole, that's another thing. A lot of managers think that being an arsehole, having a go, shouting is the best way to get someone to do something right or whatever. And it's not. Being an arsehole does not make you a good manager. It doesn't help your business whatsoever. It's not going to help your staff. Upsetting or angering your staff, it's not going to make them want to work there. It's not going to make them more productive. It's not going to make them want to recommend people go there. Yeah. Do you want to say anything, Luca?
Uh, I mean, the only things were like when I was training to become a manager, I had people coming up like when we had another business manager leave, and then the assistant manager was going to be moved up to the store manager. But then again, like as I said previously, like with the previous one, as soon as that store manager left, they left all the work for the
Yeah,
new
you
store
mentioned that.
manager. Yeah, well, no, that it happened again.
Oh, it did
So
happen again.
it happened again. It happened twice, and obviously I remember both times because it literally left everyone panicking. And what was it? Yeah, and it was basically the store manager was trying to then catch up with all this work. He would sit in the office doing all of this work and stuff, and then like managers would then sometimes just, oh, give me a second, I just need to pop to the office, and then they're in the office for like half an hour to an hour talking to the store manager, and then no one's at the front, and then it's just like, okay, then great. But like then we had the person there was a person that was meant to be doing our scheduling. Like they were specifically scheduling like money, sorting out what orders and stuff like that. And he left, and then we had to have someone new come and do it. Like we had one of the managers come in and do that, but she didn't really know what to do with it, and then she was not getting any information of what like of anything that was going on or anyone that needed specific times and stuff like that. So for around about the month before I left, I just had people coming up to me saying, "Hey, Luca, my schedule's wrong. I can't do mornings, and I'm being put in for mornings." But then there was people that were in the evenings was like, I can't do evenings, I need to do mornings. And it was like, well, why have I got like 6 to 7 people, and on each side I've got one set of people being like, oh, I'm being put down for mornings but I can only do evenings, and then I've got these group of people saying they're doing evenings but they want to do mornings, and it's like, well, why don't you just swap them over?
Well, to be fair, that was an issue before the new person took over the schedule. The schedule was always being fucked up.
Oh yeah, that was because of the previous person.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's no point putting down staff to work times that they prefer not to work or they can't work. There's no point putting them down for it.
Yeah.
And if you could swap people over for people that do want to work that shift, then it would make the the business run more smoothly if people work in the shift they want to. But yeah, and then another thing is like with that, is you should always with being a manager or whatever, the manager needs to put people to do certain jobs, to be on certain stations and that.
Yeah.
But you should think about what is the staff member good at, and what do they like what do they prefer doing.
Yeah.
And then come up with something. Like, because obviously you don't want to put if they prefer to say but they're bad at it. Well, in the way if it's not busy in that, you can put it on there so they can try and get better at it.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't put someone on a station that they're good at, but they don't like doing. especially not for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Not for the whole time anyway. Maybe a little
Well,
bit
like,
of moving around people would be good, because then people
yeah.
get practice and can learn everything. Because it's just the staff are going to be more productive if they're doing a station that they want to work on.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
um,
mean, the thing was though is I did have a load of like it wasn't like on my shifts or anything. It was literally other managers when they were on shift, like when they were running stuff. I would come in like after like having like a day or two off. I would come in and I hear that 7 people have quit. They've walked out.
mm,
And I'm just like, okay, well, why did they walk out? And it was like, well, they didn't get the breaks. They've been stuck on the same station for like 10 hours. They got told that they could go home, but then got told that they needed to stay 2 extra hours. And like, no, like it just got so bad. I mean, I remember on my last week of working at McDonald's, I got put on basically closes. Um, and it was ridiculous because I was I weren't running the shift. I weren't doing it because I'd said that I'm not being a manager anymore. Like it was too difficult. I weren't getting any assistance. They kept on telling me that I needed to go for a course, but they wouldn't put me in for the course, which I later found out what the reason was for that. Um, but I said that no, I'm not doing this anymore. You can find other people to be a manager. I'm not. But when I was doing the 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. and there was 3 of us in the kitchen from 7 p.m. all the way to like to 10, and 3 people during that time is not accomplishable. Like accomplish capable.
uh, I can't think of
Can't
the
think
word,
can't think of the
but
word. But it weren't easy because we had to have, so line one was the one line that had the most orders on. So we needed 2 people on that side. And then there was me on line two. And if line one got too busy, I had to switch my line on and then start taking orders. But then my line started getting busy. And I'm on my own. And then I'm like
yeah,
going to
they
the front.
didn't really put enough staff on.
No,
They
they didn't.
Because people were quitting because of how the business was being run. It was
Yeah,
being run badly. Um, the you know, you said about overtime and that.
yeah,
There would be a bit where you're meant to finish. This is the thing that annoyed me. It happened all the time. The managers never, well, majority of the time, never got anyone ready to take you over from your shift ending. And you would have to remind the manager, oh, I'm meant to have finished 10 minutes ago. And they're like, oh, yeah, we know. We're going to sort someone out. And then they'll leave it longer and longer and that.
yeah,
And it turned out the thing is, they were deliberately trying to get people to stay longer without asking. They were trying to
yeah.
force people to stay longer because nobody wanted to.
Well, that was literally what I was
I'm
just
not.
about to.
Oh, okay. There was a
Yeah,
time I got. Um, what was it? I actually walked out at the time that I finished.
yeah,
I kept on telling them that I finished now. I need to go. We do have lives outside of work. We can't. Our lives don't revolve around work. The managers might, and the owner of the business might think so, but they're delusional because we do have other things in our lives. I can't
yeah,
stay there forever just because your business is so horrible and bad that nobody else wants
yeah,
to work there. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, I ended up just walking out. I didn't get in trouble for it. I finished my shift. I clocked out. I finished my shift. I clocked out and went. You have no right to keep me there, any longer. You can't keep me there for an hour or two without asking or anything. I finished my
yeah,
shift. I'm going. Right. I have a right to go when my shift is finished. Um,
yeah,
but there's another thing that I did want to briefly bring up so I don't forget. There was a time when I came in on a morning shift 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock start, whatever it was. And there was a manager in, and it turned out there was nobody in. Someone phoned in sick, and there weren't enough people scheduled in. So there literally was just us two, or there might be one extra person. I can't remember if it was 3 of us or just 2 of us. But so there was no, I think it was just 2 of us, because he was taking orders. No, wait, I'm trying to remember. No, sorry, I'm trying to remember. The store was already open.
Yeah.
Because he was taking orders on his own.
Yeah.
And I came in. He was panicking. He literally was panicking. This manager who had been, he'd been a manager for a few, for like 6-7 months or a year, can't remember now. And he was panicking because he had all these orders, he had to do everything on his own. And I came in, I helped where I could, because I didn't know all the stations because I'm normally in kitchen. So I only know a little bit of the front of house, the front bit, and like giving orders and all that sort of stuff. And I had limited knowledge on how to use the machines for the drinks and everything. But anyway, I was helping him in that. Do you know, he didn't know how I could be so calm. He actually, he said thank you in that because of me helping him in that. And he was saying it was really good, the fact that I kept calm during it being crazy with only us two.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's because of how I had my mindset of the fact that, like I've already said previously in this video, rushing is not going to help you.
Yeah.
Because there was him rushing, he ended up spilling and having to redo drinks. If he didn't rushed, he wouldn't have made the waste, the waste of the drinks, the waste of the cups, going to have to be thrown away, all the cleaning stuff that you now got to use to clean the floor and that because there's drinks over it. He's had to redo the drinks and that. The thing is, you just do what you can. If it's going to be crazy in that, don't rush. Just go at your own speed. Do what you can do. Just deal with it. Just apologise. We're low staff, blah, blah, blah. And just do what you can do. Because rushing is not going to help you, and it's certainly not going to help the business, even though there might be some managers that are delusional to think that it would help a business being rushed. I don't know how these people become managers. Maybe it's because they get the job because they continue this false narrative that the business wants to tell you. Maybe that's why they get the job. Yeah. There's also I think it was after lockdown, the business was making a lot of profit, even though things was terrible there. We were still making profit. Even though one thing I would mention, even if a company's making profit, does not mean they're a stable company, because McDonald's is certainly not a stable company. The one that we was working at nearly closed down because of how bad it got after we left and others left. But instead of us getting like there was a bit where the owner was like said that there was basically said thank you to in a different McDonald's, because it was a franchise McDonald's and this person owns a few McDonald's, and at one of them he said thank you to everyone for their hard work and all this. He didn't actually give a shit about that. He just cared about the money. And then he was like, oh, I need you guys to work a lot more harder because I need the money to buy a helicopter. So this was just after COVID, I think. And so you're saying we're doing a good job, our profit's up. Instead of giving us a pay rise and that, you're going to continue paying us on crappy wages and want us to work harder with less pay, without an extra pay, so you could buy a bloody helicopter. What an arsehole. Like, he had all this money and we was getting shit wages. I'm sorry, if you get paid minimum wage, you should do minimum work. Like, that's how it should work. Yeah, it was stupid, and we ended up getting like 3 pens in that. Christmas. The socks. We got socks. We got socks. Instead of a pay rise, we're gonna give you some bloody socks. Yeah, that's helpful.
it would
It's
literally
just
a case of like we had worked so hard on hard. We'd got like the store up on records and stuff like that, and literally like all they gave us was a small Christmas bag, like that had like a free coffee in it, a pen, some small like sweets, and a thank you letter. That was it.
well, and socks.
And socks.
But the recent companies, instead of doing anything to actually like give you a pay rise or anything, they give you these crappy little presents or whatever you want to call it, just to make you feel like they've like, oh, you're appreciated sort of feel. It's meant to be, oh look, we appreciate you. This is why we're giving you this free pen. It's just a way to try and keep you, make you feel like you're appreciated, try and keep you happy, so you can continue making a lot of money for them while they spend very little on you.
Yeah.
And another issue with another thing that I could mention is obviously with businesses, capitalist businesses, obviously they want you to buy their products, don't they? But the issue is they want to sell as many products as they can to make as much profit, but they want to pay the workers as less as possible, which doesn't make sense. There's actually a good quote from Professor Richard Wolff. I don't have the quote with me. It'd be good if I did. But it doesn't work, because if you're paying your staff less and you want to sell as much as possible and you put the prices up, your workers and then they're not going to be able to afford to buy it. The more you pay your workers, the more they're going to be able to buy your products and buy other company products. If say they got away with, say companies got away with getting the government to scrap the minimum wage.
Yeah.
If a company, so then the company could get away with paying you £1 or $1 an hour, right? So you work $8. That's not a lot to pay your rent. That's definitely not going to be, like, obviously I know I'm only mentioning a day, but if you divide your rent with the days and that, I bet you will not be able to afford your rent, your water, your gas, electric, etc. on $8 or £8. It's not doable, and you won't be able to buy the products either. And the more money you get paid, the more money you can have to spend on other things, which then if you spend it in a business, that gives them more profit, except they pay their staff and etc. They make more products and that. But if you're paid so little that you can't afford the products, then they're not going to be able to. They're going to sell less of that product, and then it might be that we put so much money into the research and that into this thing, we haven't made enough. They haven't made what they would say they haven't made enough revenue, to cover what they spend on research and that, on their market research, on their research of what consumers want and that, because then it's just like if I got paid more, I would have spent more things on other things, on more businesses and that. You need you should pay your workers a living wage, or even more than that, so then they have money to actually buy your products. But there's one thing is, in a capitalist business, if you're never going to get paid what you're worth, that's the truth. You will never get paid the amount of money that you're worth. Because if you got paid what you're worth, companies wouldn't be profitable for them. There's one sort of myth that always goes around that, like, if a business isn't making profit, it's going to fail, or if you pay people more money, a living wage, or whether the business will collapse, they'll cut jobs. That's not true. There's research that proves that paying them more it's better because there's more money into the economy and everything. There is a book. What's Saying Measure? I can't remember what it's called. I haven't fully read it yet, but I can't think. I'm forgetting all my things, but yeah, we have been talking for a while as well.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to mention? I feel like there was something,
I mean,
but I can't remember what it was.
I mean, we could always do a second video of this.
Yeah, if you do want us to talk more about McDonald's, please let me know. If you want to know about the stories about that. I do plan to talk about our experience at Sainsbury's as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I'm trying to think of the words.
There was just a lot going on with the business itself and the people that we could probably do this in 2 videos. So if we
could probably do it in more, to be honest.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stories. Like, we might not remember all the stories now, but we'll probably remember them like tomorrow or the next day. There was so many issues with the business, but they weren't willing to make any changes to make the business run smoother, to be more productive.
I mean, to be fair, if there is anything we've missed, we could do it in a second part. At the same time, if there is anything that the viewers do want to have a look at, want us to go more into detail with, we could always do that in the second video as well.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll leave it here. There was something else I was going to mention, but I actually can't remember what it was. Actually, I do remember something I should mention quickly. There is a bit where majority of companies, I don't know about the US and that, but in the UK, most companies, well, out of the companies I've worked with and ones I've heard from other people, they normally ask their staff for feedback. One of the things that McDonald's was something called Love to Listen, wasn't it? Love to Listen? Mm-hmm. But there was an issue with it because you would have to enter your employee number to do the Love to Listen. It was not anonymous. I don't even know if I said that word right.
Anonymous.
It weren't that. At Sainsbury's, it was. I believe it was at Co-op. But because the problem is, it's people do not feel staff do not feel comfortable giving honest feedback when you're monitoring who is saying what, because some will worry that they'll get disciplined or lose their job or whatever. That majority of workers would lie on their Love to Listen, especially the ones that I spoke to. I didn't lie on my one, to be honest. I never did. I don't think some of the managers were happy with what I said in the Love to Listen. I did criticise the management. I did criticise the shit pay. I did criticise the holiday thing and that. And especially me and Luca, well, I know I think Luca was as well, but when I was leaving, they still wanted me to do a Love to Listen, even though I was leaving like in a day or two or whatever it was. And I was like, well, okay then. Well, it doesn't matter what I say now. So I basically let it all out. I literally put as much as I could think to put in there. I literally let it all out that I could think of. And yeah, I don't know if they ever enacted on any of the stuff. But I was honest. I'm being brutally honest with the business. And because the thing is, I didn't really care because I was leaving anyway. What they're going to do, yeah, they can see I said it, but yeah.
Well,
can't...
Adding on to that very quickly, the thing is they were saying to people it was anonymous.
But it weren't.
It weren't because you was entering your number.
Yeah, so they were lying to staff. They were lying to staff saying it was anonymous when it weren't. Right? You're not going to get an honest feedback from your staff if you lie to them. And if you're monitoring who's giving what feedback. Like, yeah, you're spying, or, no, not spying, but like you're policing or whatever the word is, right? If you want your staff to be honest, you need to be having it anonymous so people could say something without the fear of being disciplined or mistreated by managers for giving their honest opinion on how they feel about the workplace.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll leave it there. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. If you do want us to do another video on McDonald's, please let us know in the Discord server or in the comments. And also we will look at doing a McDonald's and some other videos. But thank you so much everyone for joining. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Please turn the notifications on, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.
Bye.